Hi, I am Pedro on two wheels, and today I am at MJ Paiva's to test ride, finally, the Ténéré 700s. So, here are the specs. I've done this previously. There's a lot of specs to cover, really a lot of them. I'll do front to back from here so you can see the bike in profile. You have off-road wheels with 21 inch at the front, 19 at the rear. You have the same engine as my own Tracer, exactly same engine and drivetrain, except for the chain, the sprockets, which are one teeth lower on each. I think it's one. It's on screen, I hope. Same power, same torque. The frame, while it's very similar, it is not the same. This is a reinforced frame. It has a huge ground clearance, and most importantly for this price range, fully adjustable front suspension here and fully adjustable rear suspension, which I'm going to show here, which is not very normal for a bike on this price range. Where is it? Oh, here it is. This little screw here, okay, and this I think, no, it is for the dampers here, so little flat blade screwdriver. It's actually quite accessible, like this, okay, and it's tucked out of the way, so in case of a fall you don't break it off, because it would be useless if it was here. It would just break. Now, one thing about this one in particular, this is a dealership test drive machine and they want to sell it at the end, so they put in some extra protectors. This is a simple vinyl which just covers this part, so when people move their foot around it doesn't scratch the paint. This is also an extra vinyl. It's not quite the original one. You can see the vinyl here, and there's a few that's also not original, obviously, and they're going to put a clear coat vinyl here to protect it later on. So there's slight differences. This should be all blue and there's a sticker underneath, but you have pictures for that. So let's talk about the bike on the road, because that's what you are here for. Oh, there's also this engine cover. That's also not stock. So, first things first. First, the test track. So this is supposed to be an on and off-road bike, so let's see how this goes. Acceleration's exactly as I'm used to it. It feels a little bit more, probably because of the extra sprockets. It also feels a little less stable here than my Tracer because of, well, tall front wheel, tall suspension. But it's not a deal breaker. I'm not getting that feel I got on the Africa Twin, on where I am in one place and the wheels are in another postcode. I do get that leaning over, I'm going to fall over feel from the off-road tires, but that's absolutely normal on all off-road tires. And other than a little leeriness turning in, it's a bit unstable. The front is very, very light. It wobbles. It's not quite a wobble, it's very sensitive on turn-in. It then becomes very stable during the corner, so it's fine. Okay, it's not going to be a road monster like the F09, but it's not meant to be. It's meant to be serviceable on these bends, and frankly it is way more than just serviceable on these bends. It is a lot of fun. It works pretty well. Look at this. I forgot these are off-road tires, or semi-off-road tires. And then when I brake, the suspension reminds me, oh, this is not your usual bike. But even though the suspension did sink a bit, see that? It sinks a bit and then stops sinking pretty fast. But it's only, it has a lot of travel yet, see? This was just half brakes. The brakes are much improved, much improved from the Tracer. Yeah, it also wheelies a lot easier. And I don't know how to wheelie. This was just a power wheelie, and a poor one at that. So, road seems approved. Let's see going down, because since now this is a relatively steep downhill, I do get different feel going up and going down. That's why I started doing up and downs on the reviews. Brakes are nice and easy to dose, although it does take some getting used to coming in from a road bike, because the suspension is a lot longer and it is felt. But the brakes are easy to dose. The rear brake is easier to dose than on the Tracer. And by dose I mean applying the pressure I want without locking up the wheel. Not really sure why, but it just is. And they both feel more powerful, more, I don't know, dependable, with better feel. I know better what I am doing with the brakes than on my own Tracer 700s. Which, if you don't know, is basically the basis for this one, only that at some point they just completely scratched the base and began a completely new bike. Because the frame is different, the suspension is different, the wheels are different. The only thing that survived was the engine. And well, the instrument cluster, which has the same info, only on a different orientation. Oh, the mirrors are also from the Tracer, but they're also from a ton of other bikes. And the indicators, that's a cost-saving measure, which is perfectly understandable and perfectly okay. After all, they are going to break when you're going off-road, so why make them expensive? What is this guy doing? Okay, so today we're not going that way. Today we're going off-roading. And as you can see from the pace, this is a perfectly serviceable, perfectly usable bike on road with no issues whatsoever. I'm actually doing this also for myself, because I am seriously considering upgrading from the Tracer 700 to this one. And while it might seem a side grade, as the engine is the same, this is actually an upgrade, because this is a more expensive bike. However, it does bring with it a lot better suspension, adjustable suspension, off-road capability, LED headlamps, well, a power outlet over there, but that's frankly not really an issue. Switchable ABS, which I'm going to switch off now. Hey, that's a military vehicle. This might prove to be a bad idea. And if you press this button for a few seconds while stopped, unfortunately, it would be cool to be able to do this while moving, it turns off ABS and gives you a nice off-road thing on the dash, which only means it's turned off ABS, and that's it. There's no other electronics, there's no traction control, there's no cruise control, there's very little. I've had, from the other video, from the preview, a few comments saying that the bike is too expensive. To which I say, you have been drinking, because this is not too expensive. Come on. The normal Tracer is nearly 9,000 euros. It's 8.6, something like that. This is 1,000 and something extra. Okay, 1.5 extra. It's not that, but let's round it up and say it's 1,500 euros extra. That 1,500 euros extra, oh, and it's a bit muddy because it's been raining, so this is going to be an adventure. Is very easily, and I'm really amazed at how easy this is now, and it is very easily paid for by the extra suspension and maybe the brakes, never mind the bloody wheels and the reinforced frame, okay, and all the extra nobbins that came into this bike, because this is a much more rugged bike, and it has to be a much more rugged bike, and it feels like a much more rugged bike. I'm doing this sitting down and nothing shakes. The whole bike is one piece. Well, you see the dash shaking, okay, but it has to shake or else it would just break off. I'm just going like driving Miss Daisy. Holy crap, this is so easy. I don't have to stand up on this one. This is amazing. Wow, this was... Wow! Do you remember when I did the Africa Twin a long time ago, and when I did the off-road part on the Africa Twin on Picos de Europa, I was amazed at how it would transform an idiot like me. I don't have any off-road experience, as you can see from my riding, and I was amazed how it could transform an idiot like me who doesn't know how to ride in something that looked like a pro. Oh, they've been smoothing this one a lot. And this one does much the same, only cheaper and lighter. which helps a ton. Remember, this only weighs 200 kilograms fully laden, or 204 or 205. So the little slide it just did here on a bigger bike is like an oh my god! Here is like, whoa, that was fun. Thing is, they did smooth my test track quite a lot. Yeah, that was what that military vehicle was doing, was smoothing up this for the firemen. Look at this, power sliding everywhere, no problem at all, no issues whatsoever. And I haven't stood up yet because I didn't feel the need to. Well, let's stand up now here that the ground is suddenly worse, and it's perfect standing up. I've done this on the other rides, the preview, and standing up on this one, the handlebars are just perfectly positioned. They're just high enough. You don't need risers. My arms are actually slightly bent, so it's perfect. By the way, this is very loose dirt, so I'm having some issues with the bike moving around a lot more than I was expecting. But it's fine. And while I'm completely inexperienced, to be honest, many people who are thinking of buying this one are also inexperienced. And so I don't think I'm the only one here that has a road bike and has always wanted to try dirt biking, or at least some adventure biking, not dirt biking per se. Just see where this road leads, things like that. Kind of these roads, maybe a little bit worse, but they're afraid. I'm not going to do that on my road bike, even though I did bring the tracer here a couple of times. Not a bright idea, but it worked. But it was very uncomfortable. So they're trying to find something that can also work on the road, but it's better for this. So you can explore a bit more. Try it out. And while they either have the option of buying a completely separate bike to learn, or buy one that can do both. And that's why they've been buying Africa Twins like madmen. It's exactly because of that. That is the market for this one. Believe it or not, this is a competition to the Africa Twin. Okay, whoops, big rock, stepped on it, looked at it, stepped on it, not smart. So this is a competition to the Africa Twin, except that it's lighter, cheaper, less complicated, less things to go wrong, although, to be honest, I don't think that electronics is bad, because it doesn't actually go wrong. Whoa! This is deep mud. Deep mud. This is very deep mud. Hang on. Oh, man. Gonna have to accelerate. Holy crap, this just worked perfectly. I'm not sure I want to do this again because I'm scared of dropping the bike. But if it was mine, I would just go up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down like a maniac. Gear shifting standing up works perfectly fine too, and I'm a bit sad it's already done, the path. I'm really sad. It's just brilliant for this. Much better than it had any rights to be. That was an awesome little ride. I loved it. It worked much better than I was expecting. And remember, I have little to no experience off-roading, and no issues whatsoever, even with mud and the bike moving everywhere and nothing. Amazing. Oh, the tank is smaller, but it should do 300 kilometers or that before it starts screaming for fuel. Okay, time to go down. So I just have to admire this beautiful beast. Kajirina thinks this bike is a bit uglier than my Tracer, but I like this different look on this one. It has a more rugged feel. It has LED headlamps for good visibility at night. It has just about everything. It's not a compromise on the... It should be a compromise on the road, and yet it is not. How? It just works so well off-roads and on roads. It's amazing. I just went through this path here. And maybe I'll put up the video, at the end of this video I'll put the Portuguese section where I did this little path here. I'm not going to do it again, I'm out of time. And the bike is not mine, and I really do not want to drop a bike that is not mine, especially doing off-road. I would get murdered for that. And yet it's just brilliant. It works off-road perfectly well for an idiot like me. A pro guy will just go nuts on it, just go completely berserk and just fly everywhere. It works perfectly well on roads. I've leaned the bike way more than I expected up there. Look at the tires, they're already scrubbed all the way almost to the edge. It has no rights to be, and yet it is a completely amazing bike. It is as capable on roads, on these twisty roads, and off-road as an Africa Twin, costs less, much lighter, okay? It's not as long range. The seat is not as comfortable, it's not as a luxurious ride, but it is smaller, cheaper to run, more fuel efficient, just generally less. So it's nicer to go to work. It's an awesome bike to go to work on, and then come back through these paths, because it is easier on off-roading than an Africa Twin. For example, on an Africa Twin I wouldn't go that path up to see what's in there. On this one I would. First reason is because the Africa Twin will not fit through that, and this one will. It's exactly what you explorer adventure guys have been asking for. Sub 200 kilogram bike, okay, it's a bit over, but it's only, if you fill the tank halfway, it is under 200 kilogram. Fully adjustable suspension, simple, little electronics. It only has the ABS, which you can switch off, and that's mandatory. Inverted suspension, lightweight, good standing position. It's everything that you off-road guys have been clamoring. It's everything people seem to enjoy about the KLR. It's just that, and it's new. It's got a very, very usable engine. I haven't talked much about the engine because it is the engine from the MT-07 and Tracer 700. I own the Tracer 700, and I can tell you this is one of those very rare engines that really only goes as fast as you want. It's very easy to putter around like this in town, slowly, just enjoying the sights, or even off-roading, as you saw me going slowly because no experience, remember. And it's a very easy engine to dose at these speeds, even at high revs. It really goes as you want, and then when you want you can just do this and go nuts, and it just instantly transforms into Dr. Jekyll. And then when you're tired you can go into Mr. Hyde mode again. It just feels great, honestly. And I know I'm talking a lot about the Africa Twin. I prefer this one, to be perfectly honest. Okay, to go to Picture Europa like I did, the Africa Twin is a fantastic bike. The seat is awesome, the riding position, it's a more long-range bike. I did 1,200 kilometers on it and I did not regret it, and it was an awesome day's ride. A bit tiresome, but not too much, and I would do 300, 400 more. That's what it's built for. This would be painful. I would probably have to stop halfway. Okay, it's not made for that. But there, on Picture Europa, on that off-road section I did, this would be perfectly at home, and I would not have that panic that, oh god, I cannot get out of here. I would just roll throttle and keep on going. Just roll it and keep going and going and going. On the Africa Twin I was deathly afraid of skidding the rear wheel because I did it a couple of times, and it was a bit scary. It's a lot of mass moving around, especially with the side cases and top case. But even without that, it's a lot of mass, and you feel the mass between your feet. It just feels heavier. This one feels a lot lighter than it actually is. And so off-roading, there you saw me skidding the rear wheel with no issues, saying this is fun instead of I'm going to crash. The only moments I had a little pucker factor was in the Portuguese video, which you're going to see at the end of this, when the front just dug into the sand and just went all wobbly, but it recovered and it just kept on going. When I saw mud, because I have no idea what I have to do in mud, I just tried to lean back a bit and see how that went. It went fine. It just works, and it's a great, it is actually not great, but I would say a good touring bike. And you have this thing here for your GPS. Note, the way it's mounted, I have a feeling it will shake a bit. Maybe not much, but if it shakes too much, or if your tool is too big, wait, that didn't come out right. You always have this conical handlebar. I'm not really sure why they market this as really important, a conical handlebar, where this part is thicker than this part, but whatever. But you can fit things here or here. But, well, here you can't, because there's a thing underneath the crossbar here. So you'll need to stuff your stuff here, like a roadbook reader and the GPS like I had on the Portuguese end-to-end. So you can fit accessories here, or put an accessory bar here and have this one, or just eschew that and just use this one for your GPS. This is a brilliant bike that has no right in existing, to be honest. I am amazed and I want to buy one. I just need a very good deal because it's just out of reach. The seat is comfortable but a bit stiff. It's a Dyatlov seat. It's not great, it's not terrible, but it's not great, basically. Not great, not terrible. A Dyatlov seat. It is just that, what I was looking for, what many of you are looking for. It is that. It's that happy in-between road and off-road, except that it's not an in-between. It does both brilliantly. I don't understand. This is not supposed to be possible. It's either an off-road or an on-road bike. It's not supposed to be both. But this is. It's as good, better than the Africa Twin off-road because it's lighter. And it is as good, better than the Africa Twin on-road because it doesn't have that feel that the wheels are somewhere else. It's as good as many road bikes on the roads, even with these knobby tires. And if you go crazy and decide to change these tires, I'm not sure if for these measurements there are normal tires. I really doubt it. Maybe stick in some smaller wheels. I have no idea how that works, but it's an amazing, amazing bike. This is naturally and very obviously a labor of love. Someone did this with a lot of love. Little details everywhere, This is fiberglass. This is stupidly stiff, this plastic part. It's ridiculous. It's where all these windscreens are mounted. There's this little windscreen to divert air away from you. There's these handguards which come built in, which are pretty freaking solid, but they're also flippable a bit. They move around a bit to absorb impact, and so they don't break your hands when you eventually crash into something and fly over the bike. There's a lot of little details. I'm trying to find something I don't like. Oh, one thing I don't like: when you try to refuel, this comes off entirely. It's not connected to the bike. Yeah. See what I mean when I say it's stupid little things? I can't find anything I don't like about this bike. So I'm going to do stupid things on it. Like this. Does this make sense? No. Why am I doing this? Why not? I don't even have to stand up. Look how ridiculously easy this is. And it's agile enough that I did not feel the need to put my foot down there to do that very tight maneuver. It has no rights to be able to do this, and yet it does this constantly. It's doing bad things to me. A tall bike like this one, and this is a very tall bike, has no business being this agile. Dude, I am going through this gap whether you like it or not. It has no business being this agile on the road and in city. And yet it is. It has no business being this stable at speed, and yet it is perfectly stable at speed. It has no business being this good in off-road, and it is. It has definitely no business being this good on-road, and it is. How? It has no business being this cheap. I could understand if this was a 16,000 euro bike, but it isn't. It's a shy under 10,000 euro bike. How? It's quite frankly ridiculous. Catch your out. Na minha Tracer ando sempre aqui à procura da melhor linha, nesta é sempre em frente! Quero lá saber! Uou! Enterrou-se na areia! Jesus Christ! Ok, isto agora foi um pequeno susto. Mas o que é que acontece? Ela sabe conduzir melhor que eu e cagou para a cena e fez aquilo que tinha que fazer. Recuperou na boa. Vamos sentados. Porque eu não tenho perícia suficiente para andar a fazer curvas apertadas em pé. Ah! Que maravilha! E sim, eu acho que vou comprar uma destas.